Hey everybody, welcome back to another StaticCast Gaming video. Today is Tuesday, February 16th, 2021. I hope everyone had a good day today so far, and a good weekend that just went by. Today, everyone's been talking about this class action lawsuit that Sony's facing now. According to this article on CNN Business, which was authored by Clare Duffy. Looks like this was updated as of 6:02 p.m. Eastern Time today. And instead of it, just being rumors now, it looks like this is officially moving forward, based on how it looks here. But this article is titled, Sony Faces Class Action Lawsuit Over Alleged PS5 Controller Defect. And it's stating here, Sony's PlayStation 5 has been hugely popular and hard for consumers to get their hands on, which we all know, since it was released last fall, but not everyone who managed to snag one has been satisfied. A class action lawsuit accuses Sony of violating consumer fraud statutes and breaching warranty agreements because of an alleged defect with the PS5 DualSense wireless controllers, according to a complaint filed in the Southern District of New York on Friday. The filing comes soon after the law firm Chemicals, Schwartz, Kreiner, and Donaldson Smith, which is among the firms listed as working on the suit, set up a web page soliciting reports of issues from the controllers. Gaming news site IGN first reported the firm's investigation and the lawsuit. The class action suit alleges that the DualSense controllers, which were released in November along with the new PS5 console, suffer from a defect known as drift, wherein characters or other elements on screen move without the user manipulating the controller's joystick. We've all heard of this before with the Joy-Cons with the Nintendo Switch, and even Microsoft apparently last year was hit with a class action lawsuit as well for drift regarding the Xbox One controllers. And they're still in the middle of dealing with that, which I'll touch on after this. It goes on to say here in this article, this defect significantly interferes with gameplay and thus compromises the DualSense controller's core functionality, the complaint says. Sony did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the lawsuit. The complaint claims that the plaintiff, Lamarck Turner, experienced a controller drift issue on the day he purchased the PS5 in early February. Turner contacted customer service and followed their troubleshooting instructions. To no avail, the complaint says. Given that his experience with contacting Sony the first time did not satisfactorily address the drift issue, Turner opted to purchase another DualSense controller for $69.99 a few days later, the complaint says. Had plaintiff been aware of the drift defect prior to purchasing his PS5, he otherwise would not have purchased the PS5 or would have paid substantially less for it. The suit also alleges that Sony has been aware of the drift issue because of online consumer complaints made by consumers directly to it and through its own pre-release testing. There have been a number of reports on the issue in gaming blogs and on social media. Drifting, also known as stick drift, has been an issue with previous gaming controllers from other companies too. One user reported the issue 10 days after receiving the PS5 console, stating they tried every possible fix, power cycling the console, turning Bluetooth on and off, resetting the controller, and charging it fully overnight to no avail, the complaint says. Notwithstanding its knowledge of the drift defect, Sony has failed to disclose this material information to consumers. The suit alleges that customers seeking help with their devices have run into a backlog on Sony's dedicated portal for issues with PS5 hardware and face long wait times to speak with customer service agents. It claims that when customers return the controllers for in-warranty repairs related to drift, they have to pay for shipping the controller to a Sony repair center, and Sony does not reimburse customers for these shipping costs. Recent software and firmware updates did not ameliorate or address the drift defect in any way, according to the complaint. The lawsuit seeks to make Sony implement a recall or free replacement program to address the issue, for all class members, in addition to other reliefs such as damage payments to compensate consumers for out-of-pocket expenses to fix the alleged defect. Sony said earlier this month that it sold 4.5 million units of PS5 hardware between its launch and December 31st. So, I mean, I think that sounds fair, what they're asking for as far as a solution. One interesting thing regarding this is Microsoft. In this article here on VideoGamesChronicle.com, it kind of provides an update. This article was written and updated February 4th this year, 2021, authored by Andy Robinson, or posted by. It says Microsoft issues fresh call to take Xbox Drift lawsuit out of court. Company insists plaintiffs accepted arbitration by signing into Xbox Live and using controllers. So it says here, the lawsuit filed in April last year alleges that drifting issues, which see controller movements incorrectly registered due to wear, have been experienced by a large volume of Xbox owners across various controller models. The suit alleges that the drifting issues are caused by a design flaw in Xbox controllers, which it claims Microsoft is aware of and failed to disclose to customers. However, Microsoft has again called on Western District of Washington Judge Ricardo S. Martinez to compel arbitration, which would see the disputes resolved outside of the courtroom by an impartial adjudicator. Microsoft previously claimed that the plaintiffs behind the lawsuit had agreed to its services agreement, which state that all disputes should be resolved this way. The corporation said the plaintiffs agreed to the MSA when they first signed into Xbox Live or when they purchased their controllers and used them, rather than immediately returning them. In a new motion, Microsoft's counsel point to a similar class action over drifting Nintendo Switch Joy-Con controllers, in which Nintendo was granted a motion to compel arbitration. The avid Xbox gamers who bring this lawsuit repeatedly agreed with Microsoft to submit their disputes to a customer-friendly individual arbitration process, Microsoft's counsel wrote in court documents seen by VGC. The court therefore should compel plaintiffs to arbitration, where they can litigate their arguments as to scope, unconscionability, and disaffirmance. I love reading lawyer jargon and lingo. Last month, the plaintiffs behind the lawsuit filed a response to Microsoft's request to take the matter out of the courtroom, claiming the request should be dismissed because the corporation's services agreement makes no mention of controllers, and that mention of the agreement on Xbox controller packaging did not give adequate notice. In the latest motion, Microsoft dismissed their claims. In the MSA, plaintiffs broadly agreed to arbitrate any dispute, including any claim or controversy between you and us concerning the services, except IP claims, it wrote. Because the services include Xbox Live, the online service for Xbox Play, any dispute concerning Xbox gameplay is arbitrable. Here, plaintiffs have Xbox Live gamer tags, and their claims center on the allegation that supposed controller defects prevent accurate gameplay. An arbitrator could easily conclude this dispute concerns gameplay. So they're really nitpicking at this and the wording and trying to get out of it based on the wording that's being used in their agreement and their services agreement, and with the actual class action lawsuit, which to me sounds kind of incredible. I don't really think, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to stand on any of this. But this is really what Microsoft is doing right now behind the scenes. And now it's, this was a recent article that was published. I think there was also an article that said basically the same thing back in January of this year. So it hasn't changed much, but there is an editor's note here. It says an earlier version of this story incorrectly stated that the judge had granted Microsoft's request for arbitration. No ruling has been made, and both plaintiffs and the defendant in this case await the judge's decision on the motion. We apologize for this error. So at this point, it's still up in the air. They're waiting for the judge to make a decision, and to be honest, based on what this, how, from the way I interpret this with Microsoft, it really seems like they're just trying to pick apart the wording in the agreement and the lawsuit and trying to get out of it based on, they're saying that this should be covering them by saying accurate gameplay in the claims, and that because it has gameplay in there, the word gameplay, that their disclaimers and their service agreement mentions gameplay. So because the word gameplay is in there in the claim, that should be dismissed based on that, because their service agreement basically is like a disclaimer that basically prevents them from being sued in this way because of that gamers are actually signing in and agreeing to go about this in a certain way if there are any problems. It also mentioned here about them basically returning their controllers, but not, instead of not returning them, they actually use them. Well, I mean, how are you supposed to? Why would you return a controller until it actually starts having a problem? I mean, what if the problem didn't start, a couple weeks later? I mean, I guess you could say, yeah, maybe if you still have the receipt and it's less than 30 days, you can replace it. But that doesn't change the fact that there's still a problem, because somebody can go out and buy another controller and the same thing can happen. Now, I have an Xbox Series X, and I got the new controllers, for this gen. I got 2 of them, and I haven't had a problem with them so far. And I've been playing for pretty consistently lately for a while, since the end of last year. And my son has a PS5, and his controller hasn't seemed to be giving him any problems with drift so far. But it's interesting. Now I'm going to probably be asking him if he ever notices any problems with it. But, you have Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, all facing problems with drift in their controllers. And at this point, you can't help but wonder, like, where are they getting this from? I mean, are they all being manufactured, in the same place, or are they getting the parts for these controllers, in the same, from the same company or something? I mean, why are they all having this problem? And they seem to be happening. It seems to be happening fairly quickly for a lot of people. It's not taking like months or years. It's like, some people it's happening, within days of them getting the controller. So it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. And I wonder if Sony's going to try and get out of this the same way Microsoft is trying to, where they're just looking through wording and going through their user and customer agreements that people agree to when they sign in and join, get PlayStation Plus or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll wait and find out. Hopefully this works out for everybody, because, one thing, I know I had to do a lot of when I had my PS4 was buy a lot of controllers, but it wasn't from controller drift. I mean, I would just straight up, they would just stop working. Either the batteries would die, or the triggers or the buttons would stop working, or maybe I dropped it a couple times and it stopped working. And I always had to get a new controller pretty frequently with that. And but if you're getting one and you're taking care of it, and then it just starts drifting and taking, you have no control over the game. I haven't experienced that yet, but if I did, that's a pretty helpless feeling to have, because you just spent $70 on a controller and now the thing's not even working. Like, what are you supposed to do? I mean, you can't even play unless you go out and buy another one. And then if you're shipping it, you have to pay shipping, to get it repaired. And then in the meantime, what are you going to use? You can't use it. So, that's got to be extremely frustrating. Let me know in the comments if any of you have experienced this with your controllers. And, if you tried reaching out to Sony or Microsoft, I'd love to hear your experiences and your opinions on this matter. And if you like the content that I put out, feel free to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. And if you do make a comment, I will definitely do my best to respond to that. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. I'll see you next time.